Okay. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for a Monday morning. So it's nice, auspicious way to start the material week because we're going to hear a few things about the material world. So let me share my screen. Prabhu, can you give me permission to share my screen?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam.
Taji Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, let's do the invocation first. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavati Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadra Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna. So today we'll be starting with chapter 13, Nature, Enjoyer, and Consciousness. So let's read the first shloka, then we'll get into the discussion. First two shlokas. Prabhu, if you can go to the shlokas. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, so Arjuna Vacha, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva, Kshetram Kshetragnam Evacha, Etad Veditumichanmi, Jnanam Gneyam Chakeshava. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Mityabhidiyate Etad Yoveti Tam Prahu Kshetagna Iti Tadvidaha. Translations by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna said, "O my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field, and the knower of the field, and of knowledge, and the object of knowledge." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and the one who knows this body is called the knower of the field." So it's not fully visible. Okay, it's called the knower of the field. Fine. You can stop sharing, Prabhu. Thank you. Okay, so if you look at this particular chapter 13, which is called Kshetragna Vibhaga Yoga, or the nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. Now, if we quickly recap of what we have done so far so that we can start chapter 13 and beyond, is that Bhagavad Gita is split, like our Acharya say, as a sandwich, right? So the top layer and the bottom layer are the bread, and the middle layer is actually the core. Which we have just finished, right? The top 6 chapters, 1 to 6, is karma, or the karma yoga, or understanding the fundamentals and getting into what are the actions that we perform. And the middle part is basically the Bhakti Yoga from chapter 7 to 12, concentrating focused on Bhakti Yoga, the relationship between the individual soul and the Supreme Lord. Okay. And the Bhakta, Bhagavan, and the link between them, which is Bhakti or devotional service. Wonderfully, we finished the 12th chapter, it was devotional service. Now, after knowing Bhakti, after knowing that I have to do Bhakti, why would the Lord continue for another 6 chapters between 13 and 18, which are jnana, or the knowledge, right? So that's where we are in. That's where we are starting. So what we should understand is, when a person can do bhakti at a certain level, but when we are enlightened with this entire knowledge of what am I, what is my prakriti around me, what activities are karmic, which we have seen in the initial chapters, what activities are devotional, which we are seeing in the second set, the 7 to 12 chapters, and what is the Lord doing? No, how is the Lord delivering us? So from fruitive activities, cultivation of knowledge, and discharge of devotional service. That is how we should link these three. So we are in this last 6 chapters starting today. So we'll try to understand. So what we need to know is, how our acharyas mentioned, is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic scriptures is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to love Him. Correct? The success of karma, the success of jnana is given as the ultimate purpose is Krishna Prema. If you don't come to Bhakti, you're somewhere in between. That means you're not completed, you're on the path, but there is no fun in understanding the entire spiritual knowledge because there's so much of variegatedness that's there. So if you're stuck, let's take a couple of examples to understand this point, right? So if you look at Sukadeva Goswami, Sukadeva Goswami had all the knowledge that he required right from his womb, right? And he was an impersonalist. But just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasdev very smartly gave this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam to Sukadeva Goswami. He became a devotee. And that's why when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, everyone on the shore of Ganges is waiting for Sukadeva Goswami to come and deliver the Harikatha, the loving relationship between Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam and his devotees, right? So that's how Sukadeva Goswami moved from being an impersonalist or you know a person with knowledge to being a bhakta. Similarly, the four Kumaras. The four Kumaras got all the knowledge that they needed from Brahma. And then they said, Brahmaji, we don't want to do any of your procreation. Now let us go. Right? So from being a Gnanis to becoming a bhakta just by spilling the tulsi leaves or by having the darshan of the Supreme Lord. That's what is the ultimate purpose of all the scriptures. Okay, a karmi or a gnani is successful only if he becomes a bhakta. Okay, this is the background because the next set of six shlokas, with six chapters, will actually go in this format. And obviously, all of us know by the time we end, we will be focusing on manmana bhava bhakta, or we'll be focusing on sarvadharman parityaja, ultimately coming down to do whatever you want, understand whatever you want, but if you don't get love of Godhead, it's useless. Okay. So let's look at what exactly is there in this particular shloka. A very interesting set of two shlokas. Very rarely in Bhagavad Gita, you have one set that will talk about both Arjuna and Krishna speaking. Arjuna is questioning, Krishna immediately answering to some of Arjuna's questions. So what does Arjuna want to know here? So he wants to know Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragna, Jnana, and Neya. Meaning, he wants to know what is Prakriti, nature, who is the Purusha, who is the enjoyer, what is the kshetra? Kshetra means the field of activity. Who is a kshetragna? Who is the knower of this field? There are two different people. What is gneya or what is knowledge, and what is jnana, which is knowledge, and what is gneya, which is object of knowledge, or who is the object of knowledge. So we'll see all this. So what does Krishna reply? Krishna says, Kshetra, the body, is the field of activity. As simple as that. And Kshetragna is the knower of this field. Okay, let's spend a minute because these are the two questions that are answered. The other four questions will be answered a little later in this chapter. So, so Kshetra? Let's start from there. Why one gets the field of activity, right? So Kshetra means the field of activity. Okay. Now, so in simple, Kshetra is this body. Okay. So whatever activity is happening in this body because I relate to this body. Okay. And there are so many varieties of bodies. So how does it get? So Srila Prabhupada, the Prabhupada writes, according to one's capacity to dominate the material nature, he gets a field of activity. From being an ant to a dinosaur, from being a whatever it is, like a dog to a cat to another animal to an aquatic to a human being or a demigod, depending on our capacity to dominate the material nature. Okay? Now, the purpose of getting this body is what? For sense gratification, right? So, what does it mean by dominate material nature? Obviously, I want to enjoy my senses. Okay? According to my capacity to enjoy these senses, I'm offered a particular body. That capacity obviously will come with our karma, with our pious activities, and whatever other things which we have already discussed. Now, when I get this body, which is very obvious, I relate to myself as this body. Why? So we have already seen Dehinosmin Yata Dehe, Kaumaram Yavanam Jara. Tata Dehatara Prapti. Tata Dehatara Prapti will leave it as. So right from my birth, all I know is I'm a child, Kaumara, Yavana, or I'm an old person, right? As my life moves, I have known that I am this person. Correct? All of us have this. There is no way I'm saying that, oh, you know what? As a child, I was someone different. As this, I'm someone. else. Okay, all activities are happening in this body. Okay, and according to material science, in within 7 years, our body completely changes. There's not even a cell in our body that is retained. I've changed completely in 7 years, but do I identify myself as different from last 7 years to what I'm now? No, because there is something else beyond this field that that identifies itself with this field of activity. Meaning, now the senses are all there in the body. So if all of you remember that example of the chariot that we saw in the second chapter itself, saying that there are these five senses, the horses, the veins, the charioteer, and there's someone who is a passenger. Now, going back to that example, that someone who is a passenger, does he have any relationship with the rest of the chariot and the chariot driver and the horses? If you remove that person, the chariot still exists, everything exists, but there's no purpose for that field of activity or that chariot and the horses and everything. As soon as you put that passenger in, then that has a purpose. Correct? Kshetragna is that person, that soul who sits in the chariot making the field of activity work. Otherwise, the difference between a dead body and a living body, everything is there, the body is still there, the hands, legs, mouth, eyes, the senses, everything is there. What's not there? The person who's going to run the body. Okay. Now the person who should not identify himself with the body is the kshetragna. If you look at Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad, it says the person who should not identify himself with the body. But that's what we do. So we understand the body, the kshetra, and the kshetragna is the person who is in this body, but is supposed to know the body, know the kshetra. Kshetragna itself is the knower, and he should not identify himself with the body. The owner is distinct. Owner is distinct from the body. Okay, so all are material designations. They're all nothing to do with the kshetragna or nothing to do with the soul. But we live there. So the entire knowledge in the next 6 chapters, like we started, saying that the entire knowledge, the purpose of it is to understand that I'm distinct and I have a higher purpose. And how do I achieve the higher purpose using what is available? I'm not the body, but I will use this body in such a way that I can achieve a higher purpose. Okay, so that's what is kshetra and kshetragna. These are the two topics that are covered today. What is the nature? Who is the purusha? Who I mean the enjoyer? And what is knowledge and the object of knowledge? We will see later. Okay, and who is the super soul? Okay, so in the next class we'll also cover that I am the knower. I'm I'm the kshetragna of this body. Is there a kshetragna of something beyond this body? That's what we'll see in the next shloka. So we will stop here. If anyone has any questions, any comments, please let me know. Was my voice breaking? Because okay, someone is message, but from my side it is clear. So does anyone have any questions or comments on this? We have another minute. We can try to cover it.